keep calling this the Chinese virus? There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China. That's why. It comes from China. I want to be accurate. Yeah, please, John, please. I have great love for all of the people from our country, but as you know, China tried to say at one point, maybe they stopped now, that it was caused by American soldiers.
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is a**hole.
That can't happen. It's not going to happen. Not as long as I'm president. It comes from China. China.
What's up, guys? It's your boy, Benny. I'm no great detective, but I do follow the principles of Occam's razor that says the least number of assumptions to get to a logical conclusion is probably the right conclusion. So let's say there was a surprise outbreak of an unknown virus, and that it came from a place called China, and that there was funding of labs that created those viruses from our own government, namely a guy named Dr. Fauci. And Dr. Fauci doesn't like the incoming president of the United States, and so on the eve of that president's inauguration, he promises a surprise pandemic. You think he might have something to do with that pandemic? I don't know.
There is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that.
Okay.
But also there will be a surprise outbreak. And
a surprise outbreak? He promises there will be no question, Dr. Fauci says, on January 10, 2017, 10 days before Donald Trump's inauguration. There will be a surprise outbreak. Interesting. And now, Dr. Fauci, in coordination with the CIA, is exposed for offering cash in order to change the opinions of government scientists who came to the exact same conclusion that the funding of the gain of function in Wuhan, China, is what caused this outbreak. Oh my God! Let's read this article. Intel community has not concluded whether COVID was spurred on by a lab leak or natural exposure. Oh, really? First on Fox, a CIA whistleblower told Congress that the agency offered officials on a team of investigating the COVID-19 origin significant monetary incentive to change their positions that it originated from a leak in Wuhan to unable to determine the origins, Fox News Digital has learned. Fox News Digital obtained letters from the House Coronavirus Subcommittee, Chairman Brad Wenstrup, House Intelligence Committee Mike Turner sent to the CIA, and a former official. The Select Committee on Coronavirus Pandemic and the House Permanent Select Committee of Intelligence have received new concerning whistleblower testimony regarding the agency's investigation into COVID-19. Here's what happened. There was a series of scientists that were interned in order to look into the origins of COVID-19. Those scientists ended up coming to the conclusion that COVID-19 did, in fact, leak from the laboratory that was created in order to create COVID-19. Then the CIA, learning of this and wanting to protect Dr. Fauci and wanting to protect their bioweapons program that they funded Dr. Fauci through the Patriot Act, we know all this, and we're going to show you the receipts, okay? Show you the receipts. Dr. Fauci put in charge of bioweapons after the Patriot Act, doing all these experiments in America. He had these experiments leak things like the smallpox virus and things like that. Dr. Fauci was shut down by Obama and then had to move everything offshore to Wuhan, China, and this is where you get COVID. And the CIA then paid the scientists, now we have learned, a bribe in order to not come to that conclusion, even though that's what the science concluded. CIA confirms COVID leak from a Wuhan lab, exposes CIA bribe. Mario, of course, pointing out that this proves that it did come from the Chinese lab. This is proof of it because the CIA is paying to cover it up. CIA whistleblower told Congress that the agency offered officials a team investigating COVID-19 origins significant monetary incentive to change their position from COVID originated in the Wuhan lab to unable to determine. According to the whistleblower, at the end of the review, 6 of 7 members of the team developed and believed the intelligence and science were sufficient to make a low-confidence assessment that COVID-19 originated from a lab in Wuhan, China. 7th member of the team, who also happened to be the most senior, was the one officer to believe that COVID originated through zoonosis, so from a natural origin. Quote by Wenstrup, Callis Coronavirus Committee. So, COVID leaks from a Chinese lab. The U.S. funded that lab. U.S. agencies work with medical professionals and Chinese counterparts to lie to the world. The media globally censors the truth, and the world calls the truth a conspiracy theory. Why are we okay with this? Listen to Dr. Fauci himself. This little effing bastard lie to the American people about this, using this CIA cover-up as a shield. Oh, respected virologists have looked into this.
Highly qualified evolutionary virologist looked at the sequences there and the sequences in bats as they evolve, and the mutations that it took to get to the point where it is now is totally consistent with a jump of a species from an animal to a human.
It's such a lie. They have no evidence to show that.
The paper
none,
will be available.
Zero.
I don't have the authors right now, but we can make that available too.
Zero. They have no evidence to show that. In fact, the evidence shows quite the contrary, and all of the scientists, the government scientists, have been paid off by the CIA in order to cover their tracks because the CIA was funding Dr. Fauci. We have the proof, ladies and gentlemen. These are the headlines rocketing around the world. CIA whistleblower claims agency bribed their own analysts to say COVID-19 did not come from Wuhan. Bombshell Republican report exposes alleged virus origins cover-up. Of course it came from Wuhan. Every idiot knows this who's ever held a microscope, because the spike protein that is in SARS-CoV-2, which is the backbone of SARS-CoV-2, is a COVID strand that is naturally found inside of a horseshoe bat that lives in China. We were paying them in order to put human spike proteins on that coronavirus. Those human spike proteins cannot develop naturally. This was a hack job. This was an obvious hack job. This is why they destroyed all the original samples, because they showed the splicing and the creation of a new virus inside of these barbaric Frankenstein experiments that Dr. Fauci was funding that are illegal. And it was all happening inside of this lab with this scientist. Her name is Shi-Zhen Li. I've looked into this, baby. I know this. Backwards and forwards. What I didn't know is that Dr. Fauci has been demanding to be put in charge of the bioweapons program in America for nigh on 20 years. Here's Dr. Fauci from April 2000 demanding expanded biodefense role for his institute. Well. So Dr. Fauci, as soon as George Bush gets into office, Dr. Fauci immediately runs to demand more money, requesting $4 billion and $1.5 billion increase the allocation for his institute in order to study agents like smallpox, anthrax, botulism, the plague, fever viruses, and looking at various coronaviruses. The planned effort will be generic to virtually all microbes that might be used in bioterrorism. Oh, interesting. Dr. Fauci talking about being in charge of the bioterrorism unit inside of our government. And then what happened? September 11th happens. And then Dr. Fauci, here he is right there. This is material frozen in time from the George Bush White House, Project BioShield. Project BioShield in the War on Terror. Dr. Fauci is put in charge of America's bioweapons program. Here it is. Directly from the White House website. 3 years have passed since the last attack on American soil, but the danger is still clear. President Bush reminded the nation in his State of the Union address about the dangers of bioweapons. So he puts Dr. Fauci in charge. There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, now we know, of course, that Dr. Fauci utilized his position in order to get around the Obama administration. Far be it from me to compliment the Obama administration, but here we are, to start doing this research abroad because Barack Obama shut him down. People told Barack Obama, hey, yo, listen, this guy is going to start a pandemic. Barack Obama, to his shockingly good credit, shut down Dr. Fauci and dissolved all of his labs here in America. And then Dr. Fauci moved his labs offshore to Ukraine, to China. And now we get COVID. And now the CIA has paid 7 officers on the COVID discovery team in order to change their scientific expertise. Breathtaking. The whistleblower further contends that to come to the eventual public determination of uncertainty, the other 6 members were given a significant monetary incentive to change their position. This is not the first time that this has happened. In fact, Dr. Fauci has regularly wielded over his massive budgets over the heads of other scientists in order to get the results. This is not science. This is corruption. This is lying. And this has horrible consequences. Dr. Fauci is one of the most evil, malevolent men to ever walk the earth. The death toll rivals Genghis Khan. One of the people who called out Dr. Fauci to his face and regularly online is RFK Jr. He's running for president, and he details Dr. Fauci's evil scheme to hatch new viruses abroad using your American tax dollars. Here. Go.
The Pentagon was very worried about actually launching a full-blown bioweapons arms race because they said nobody, this is very sketchy. The Patriot Act, exemptions are very sketchy and people don't even know about it. And so they didn't want to do it. So they took the money that Cheney gave them, $2.2 billion, and they funneled it through NIH. And it all went through Anthony Fauci. So beginning in 2002, Anthony Fauci got a 68% raise from the Pentagon for doing bioweapons development.
Wow.
And he got a raise of billions of dollars a year to do it. And then he started that's when they started doing all this gain of function. And then in 2014, 3 of those bugs escaped in high-profile escapes from different labs in the United States. Fauci had built all these new labs at BU, at Galveston to do his shenanigans. And so 3 of the bugs escaped, and they received publicity. They had smallpox and a lot of really bad things. And then Congress held hearings on it. Everybody was angry. These bugs escaped, and 300 scientists, top scientists, sent letters to Obama saying, you got to shut down Anthony Fauci because he's going to create a pandemic. And so Obama ordered a moratorium. And at that time, Fauci had 18 different gain-of-function experiments he was doing around the United States. But Obama ordered him to shut them all down, but he didn't. He instead moved his stuff offshore to Wuhan, where he could do it out of sight of these 300 scientists and nosy White House officials who were trying to shut him down. And they continued to do it with Ralph Baric, the same people he was funding here, Ralph Baric and Peter Daszak, and they moved their operations to the Wuhan lab.